Alright, so I'm gonna try to go into the Radiant versus Dire question. What I'm gonna say is not that... What I'm about to explain and say doesn't mean that this is why teams do it. This is my assumption and some of the knowledge that I do have as to why stuff happens. Oh, you can't see those camps. Okay. Item smoke. So if you take a quick look as to the camps, I'm just gonna place vision so we see everything, then I can explain it better. Okay, so one of the first things that come to mind when you compare camps is that if you compare which of the two sides have the better camps to farm, it used to actually be that Dire had even better camps, but with the introduction of the 7.0 patch, I think it changed a little bit. So basically what happened is that Radiant has a lot of camps that are on low ground. Remember that this camp was even on a low ground? Like you would run here, that it had a staircase to go down. Basically, if you have to farm camps on low grounds, it's really not beneficial. Even though these two camps are next to a shrine, they're both on a low ground. If you come from here, you will see the guy. If you come from here, you see him from high ground. A lot of Radiant camps are on low grounds. Or, if they're not on low grounds, I can show you. I might have to start a new lobby for it. If I'm a Dire hero, I'm gonna show you guys something, because I realized this first when I saw Burning play a TI. So if I'm Dire and I smoke on Radiant, I think this is the worst ancient camp that Radiant has. I think this one is slightly better. Anyway, what happens if you're Dire and you smoke onto Radiant? Whether you have a ward here or not, if it's daytime and you smoke in here, your smoke will never break to a guy that's farming this camp, and your smoke will never break to a guy farming this camp before you see them. Also, the ward vision, in my opinion, is way easier to find people farming on Radiant compared to Dire. I see people die on this camp multiple times, because when people smoke like this, you're always dead. If you're farming Dire Ancients, you're always here. Not only are these three camps protected by a shrine, it's also really hard to smoke into here. And why? First, you need to run through this high ground, or this high ground. Best case scenario, this tower is dead and you go all the way around. But even then, the amount of vision you have before you see them compared to your smoke breaking is very low. Also, if you have to smoke from here, it's another high ground and there's a tower that protects it. So basically, long story short, I think the Radiant camps are way harder to farm. Like all of these camps here, you come from a low ground if someone's farming. Same here. I think nearly every single camp is on a low ground. And these camps that aren't on a low ground, it's super easy to smoke on. Especially once you lose this tower, your jungle is pretty shit anyway. So you lose value of these camps pretty fast. Basically, this is what I've seen the most. People are Dire, they smoke. They come here, one guy dies here or here, because it's so easy to see them. These camps are also hard to farm, and even though these camps are next to a shrine, it's pretty rough, to be honest. You're next to a shrine, but you're on low grounds. If you compare it to Dire, you run into a lot of like high ground situations. Like this camp you can farm from up here, you can farm this camp from up here. These camps are kind of on low grounds. If you run into this ancient camp, once again, there's a high ground here. This is definitely the worst of the two ancient camps, from Dire's point of view. But once again, Dire has like 3 camps here that aren't as easy to smoke into. But like I said, this is definitely the most abusable side. I remember a few months ago, when this patch first came out, I was under the assumption that teams that play Wisp or ancient strategies, they're gonna be playing Dire, Because it's so easy to farm. You have an ancient and a shrine right next to here. And you have, like, this is like the most convenient farming tool ever. Like if you have a Bristleback, a Medusa, a Luna, a Sven, like whatever, what have you, you know. It's way easier to do as Dire. At least that's the best explanation I can give as to why teams prefer Dire. And I think it has a lot to do with your farming safety. There's probably other people that know more when it comes in terms of warding. Also, I think it's way easier to control Radiant farming areas with wards. I think you have way more options to cover like this area. Like you can place it here. You can even just place it down here or down here and get pretty easy access. Whereas this area on this shrine, I think you only have this, and this ward. And it takes a maximum of 2 sentries, I believe, to kill those. Whereas on Radiant, I think you have a few more options that aren't as easy to deward. For example, I know this ward. OG loves this ward. When OG Roche, they place this ward. If they want to break a smoke, Jarex will sit here with his blink dagger. He breaks it from here or here, blinks away, and that's it. And it covers, like, you can cover mid lane and ancients on one ward. And it's the same here, like this ward is pretty good. It controls a farming area and the lane. Whereas I feel like it's way harder to do that against Dire, because this ward just always gets dewarded. And if you like had to compare the same ward, you can't really place one of these wards. But then it comes to like Roshing, and I don't quite know which team has the advantage when it comes to Roche. When it's daytime, when you used to, how was it? I don't. Maybe Radiant still has it. Radiant used to have a huge advantage when it came to Roche vision. Even without wards. Because you stand on a double high ground. So I'm guessing it's still the same. If it's daytime, I can't make it daytime right now. You see quite a lot from here to here. Whereas they can only see from here to here. So they're always at a disadvantage when it comes to Dire. I don't know if it's still the same. I think it is. Because if you compare it, Dire, at best, they can stand up here. But there's way too many trees in order to give them any vision into the side. So long story short, I think farming is way easier for Dire. Way easier. And I think I had some more pointers, but it's not like this is a well thought out process. I just wanted to make a quick note on it, because I saw the question was asked yesterday on the Moonduck stream or whatever, and people had no idea like why. This is at least the best explanation I can give. It kind of comes down to farming areas and how safe it is. For example, if you were to smoke onto this camp, it's actually really hard. So if you're Radiant and you want to smoke on someone that's farming this camp, how exactly do you have to do it? Because you feel bad going like this. First of all, there's a high ground here. Then you feel bad doing this. Because if anyone, unless you have a ward, I don't think you can smoke this way. It just doesn't make sense. Which means you could go the long way around. But for that, the tier 1 has to be dead. So that you're meeting this requirement. Then you need to like ward here. Either you need to ward here or have a ward prepared, and then you need to go around. And even then there's a high chance the shrine is active, or someone is here, or someone is breaking. Like, it's a long way to go. Whereas it feels a lot less convenient if you're a Radiant guy farming. Especially if you run in here and suddenly, oh look, Burning's farming. Dead. I saw Burning die like 5 times in two or 3 games as Jugger on this camp. Yeah, that's long story short. If I feel like I'm gonna get more info, or if I remember anything big, then I'll mention it next time. Alright, and now we're gonna play a game. What's up, Ugura? Thoughts on New Alliance? You know them. I know them from Hon, yeah. I saw the trick, Weister. Not sure how great it is. It's definitely good sometimes. If you're Radiant, don't you just pressure top tier 3 so you can invade Dire jungle instead of farming us? Oh, I missed one thing actually as to why... there's one thing as to why I think Radiant has Roche advantage, once again. I'm gonna show you real quick. It has to do with how teams maneuver after... oh, that's wrong. The way teams maneuver usually at some point in the game is that people swap sides. Surely you've realized that after a while. Where the safe laner, the carry goes to the offlane to take the enemy safe lane tower and vice versa. Either one team does it reactionary or both teams do it at the same time. Which means that at some point in the game, the Radiant will control the top area. So let's say we are... let's say it is... I don't know. Let's say it's 10 minutes into the game and I'm no-tail right now. I will be killing this tower. If I'm Radiant, I will be killing this tower. If I'm Dire, no-tail will kill this tower. If no-tail or OG are Dire, they will play in this area. Until Roche becomes a threat, and then they will have to swap sides in order to play top. Because if you're playing bottom, are you protecting Roche at all? No. So at some point teams swap sides, which means Radiant will play on the Dire side, Dire will play on the Radiant side. Which logically, at least to me, once again, I'm not saying that I'm 100% right on this, but this is my assumption and the knowledge that I have. Let's say it's minute 14 to 22. Both teams have taken each other's safe lane tower. Which means that Radiant is warding the Dire jungle, and the Dire is warding the Radiant jungle. Usually you want to control the areas where you have vision, which makes it very natural for Radiant to play in Dire's jungle, and Dire's to play in Radiant's jungle. But if this is the natural way how the game flows, if you have 5 people from Radiant playing in this top area, it means they're constantly threatening Roche, because they're super close to it. And if they just go fogging 5 people, and the enemy team doesn't have vision, they could be Roshing at any time. Especially, a very normal trade, and a very common trade nowadays, is that if Dire goes for this tier 2 bot tower, you just go Roche with Radiant. Which means... generally, with how the game is played right now, Radiant should have a Roche advantage, just because of how people play the game currently. You will see it plenty of times. I might go into a replay real quick of yesterday, where surely you see it as well at that point, where you control the enemy's jungle. It happens a lot from minute 12 to like 22, until at some point, for example, if OG is Dire and they control this, and I don't know, let's say they play against Secret, and Secret have a lineup that can threaten Roche. At some point, OG will be forced to smoke from bottom or from mid into this area or this area and place wards and swap sides. And suddenly they will have to control their own jungle or this area so that the enemy team can't just freely take Roche. So I'm gonna go into a replay from yesterday real quick, where I'm sure I can find just a quick movement like that to show it. And then I'm gonna show you one more thing that the OG does. They did it against... where did they do it? They did it against Empire. I'm gonna show you what they did against Empire. And after that, I'm gonna play. I'm gonna show you something that OG is very, very good at. And I think it's their biggest strength. I think OG's biggest strength is their movement and the way they control specific areas in the game. How applicable is this knowledge in your pubs? Very. What?
He just looks at the door.
No. Why are you saying no cam? Pretty sure the cam is on. Another way of how many people, like so many people die here farming this camp as Radiant hard carry. Because even if you farm it from the high ground, people can smoke around you like this very easily. Just another pointer. But all of this, I don't really want to look at any of this. Let's see how the teams trade the towers. If that happened. See, Radiant push the top tower. OG will not even bother defending unless they're at all ready to do it. In the meantime, a Brewmaster took a solo bot tower because they know it's a shit area to defend. In the meantime, OG is already one step ahead. This entire game, OG is one step ahead of Empire. I'm gonna show you or explain you something different. Remember how I said once you take this tower, it's super easy to get into the mid lane? Look at the thingy that Fly drew out. Also, like I said, in my opinion, it's best to smoke during nighttime. Because during nighttime, first of all, it's way easier to not break. You just place a ward. I know there's a lot of teams that prefer to smoke during daytime. But personally, I prefer during nighttime. I just think it's better. So now, like Empire, like I'm not sure how they defend this tower. Because they need to be more ready here. If you look at Empire's vision, it's like really rough. Like I'm not sure how you're expecting to defend this tower. You just lost your bot tower.
Subscribe, motherfucker.
So for OG to be in your jungle, it's just way more, like it's just way easier now. And all you see is Arc Warden, and OG is not defending their safe lane tower. You have to be under the assumption that they're bottom, but they're not pushing. Which means they're smoking on you mid, or they're all sitting behind him. So what happens is that he pretty much dies, and their tower is gone. Unless they come now to defend. But you know what's actually really good, and what OG are really good at? Maybe it's S4, but I'm just gonna say OG. So they smoke here now. They get the initiation and they plant wards. If Empire come to take this fight, they're fighting, like they're literally running into a brew split. And TPing in one by one. So what happens is that this guy TPs in and he's dead. Like this fight is just over. See, this is pretty much what happens. They just die, one by one, and the tower is lost. A team with Arc Ward and Lone Druid is making moves on you. Something's wrong. They can only do it because OG are really good at moving, and they're just way too fast. Like, they take your bot tower, but they're already smoking to the mid area. And now, what you can see is, this is exactly what I meant. It would be most natural now for OG to play in this bottom area. But they're playing against Luna TA lineup. This TA, once he gets Dazzle, he threatens Roche really much. It's a very big part of his game. And since OG know that, they cannot play in the bottom area. They need to either smoke into their own jungle and place wards and take the jungle back, or they need to smoke in here. Either way, they need to take control of one of these areas back. Because otherwise it is way too easy for Empire to go and control the area and then later on get Roche. Didn't quite see this fight. They get a kill. They should be placing wards. None of them have wards. Yeah, they have a ward on JRX. He's probably... They love this and this ward. Era is on an alliance. Is it worth to use smoke only to place a deep wards? Definitely. Something happens mid lane, but they get a few kills. You can even see, like I can show you. Look at the line that Fly is drawing in a second. Look. He knows that, guys, we need to go here and play in this area. Bottom is pretty useless. Even though it's supposed to be their area, it doesn't make sense for them to play here. Because it just means that Empire gets too much and they will take Roche in literally 20 seconds if they're not around. Which means OG have to take away the closest area to Roche that Empire can have. Which is top jungle and their ancients to the left. And they have a really good ward that they got out only because they smoked here. So what's gonna happen is that OG have to keep pushing out mid and top area all the time. Once again, the TA gets initiated on. Static, the bear's on him. Doesn't quite die though. Good clap into split, and once again, like OG is, they're just making the move first, you know. These are just team fights that Empire cannot win. They cannot win if they get smoked on like this. It just doesn't make sense. And now we're about to get into the area of what OG does best out of any team, in my opinion. They control areas. Yeah, Moon has a new team. I'll talk about it once I'm done with all of this. So now you can see that they check Roche with the bear. They're pretty aware that Empire are smoking. Like, you don't see much. They didn't push further than this. They're not defending mid yet. And it's very likely for Empire to be smoking to this area. So basically, OG go and smoke themselves. They have a Radiance ready, so they can push a lane while that happens. And they're just gonna stay around mid. They're waiting for now. Rosh ain't happening. They run into these people. They get a 3 kill. And once again, you can just see that they want to protect this ward. There's a lot of emphasis on this ward. And now I'll tell you what OG does best. OG, if they're dire, they will place a ward like here, here, or here. And now they will control mid and top lane. What this gives them is that they're controlling 2 lanes. I think controlling 3 lanes in Dota is a flawed concept. You cannot protect everyone that is farming those 3 lanes. No matter how far ahead you are, if you're trying to push out 3 lanes with 3 different heroes, then you're just gonna lose. What OG can do though is, they can constantly kill the wave that's coming in mid, and they can constantly kill the wave that's coming in top. And if bottom ever becomes too bad of a lane, they actually have a pretty good tool to deal with it. They have a lone druid bear with Radiance. And now they have an illusion with Radiance. So now they keep pushing in top wave, and they keep pushing in mid wave, and they will slowly get this mid and top tower. Like now, it's just super easy for them to take this tower. And once they take this tower without any resistance, they can just go top tower. Top has pushed in the meantime the whole time. Now they'll take top and they place a new ward for it. Now OG is very good at... OG usually will not take Rosh unless it's 100% safe to take it. So since they have a potential TA trap on Empire, OG won't Rosh until they place sentries and make sure that there can be a potential ward. Surprise S4 died here. Once again, like, have you seen OG play in this area for the last 10 minutes? No, you have not. Because they know what's up. This is half of TA's game, this Rosh. It's basic. If Empire get this Rosh, it's actually so good for them. Which means OG have to make sure that either A, they don't get it, or B, they take it themselves. So now they remove the sentries. They have enough sentries here to make sure there's no TA trap and no ward. So now, first of all, they can do it freely. And like I said before, remember how like 10 minutes ago I said if OG take Rosh, they love this ward? So, once again, they place this ward, they do Rosh. Jarex is around to try and break some smokes. But they see quite a lot of heroes. They know that like 1 or 2 heroes are top. They saw Luna mid. And now it's just basically a free Rosh for them. And this is basically what OG does best. And now they get Aegis and they team wipe them. OG is literally the best team at controlling areas. It is crazy.